They have taken you from the Imperial City's prison. First by carriage and now by boat. To the east, to Morrowind. Fear not, for I am watchful. You have been chosen.
Wake up. We're here. Why are you shaking? Are you okay? Wake up. Stand up. There you go. You were dreaming. What's your name? Well, not even last night's storm could wake you. I heard them say we reached Morrowind. I'm sure they'll let us go. Quiet. Here comes the guard.
This is where you get off. Come with me. Get yourself up on deck and let's keep this as civil as possible.
The sooner you leave, the sooner we can move on.
This is where they want you. Head down to the dock and it'll show you to the census office.
You finally arrived, but our records don't show from where. A high elf in pauper's rags? That's a first. Follow me up to the office, Your Highness, and we'll finish your release.
Yes, we've been expecting you. You'll have to be recorded before you're officially released. There are a few ways we can do this, and the choice is yours. Very good. The letter that preceded you mentioned you were born under a certain sign. And what would that be? Interesting. Now, before I stamp these papers, make sure this information is correct. Show your papers to the captain when you exit to get your release fee.
You've stolen for the
Cowardly
last time.
thief!
Continue through to the next building and talk to Celes Gravius.
The stars of Tamriel are divided into 13 constellations. 3 of them are the major constellations known as the Guardians. These are the Warrior, the Mage, and the Thief. Each of the Guardians protects its 3 charges from the 13th constellation, the Serpent. When the sun rises near one of the constellations, it is that constellation's season. Each constellation has a season of approximately 1 month. The Serpent has no season, for it moves about in the heavens, usually threatening one of the other constellations, the Warrior. The Warrior is the first Guardian constellation, and he protects his charges during their seasons. The Warrior's own season is Last Seed, when his strength is needed for the harvest. His charges are the Lady, the Steed, and the Lord. Those born under the sign of the Warrior are skilled with weapons of all kinds, but prone to short tempers. The Mage. The Mage is a guardian constellation whose season is Rain's Hand, when magicka was first used by men. His charges are the Apprentice,
Your
the
papers,
Golem,
please.
and the Ritual. Those born under the Mage have more magicka and talent for all kinds of spellcasting, but are often arrogant and absent-minded. The Thief. The Thief is the last guardian constellation, and her season is the darkest month of Evening Star. Her charges are the Lover, the Shadow, and the Tower. Those born under the sign of the Thief are not typically thieves, though they take risks more often and only rarely come to harm. They will run out of luck eventually, however, and rarely live as long as those born under other signs. The Serpent. The Serpent wanders about in the sky and has no season, though its motions are predictable to a degree. No characteristics are common to all who are born under the sign of the Serpent. Those born under this sign are the most blessed and the most cursed. The Lady. The Lady is one of the Warrior's charges, and her season is Heartfire. Those born under the sign of the Lady are kind.
Are you the one
and
that boat
tolerant.
dropped off?
The Steed.
Odd to see a boat
The
arrive at
Steed
that time of the day.
is one of the Warrior's charges, and her season is mid-year. Those born under the sign of the Steed are impatient and always hurrying from one place to another. The Lord. The Lord's season is First Seed, and he oversees all of Tamriel during the planting. Those born under the sign of the Lord are stronger and healthier than those born under other signs. The Apprentice. The Apprentice's season is Sun's Height. Those born under the sign of the Apprentice have a special affinity for magic of all kinds, but are more vulnerable to magic as well. The Atronach. The Atronach, often called the Golem, is one of the Mage's charges. Its season is Sun's Dusk. Those born under this sign are natural sorcerers with deep reserves of magicka, but they
Come
cannot
on,
generate
I haven't got all
magicka
day,
of
you
their
know.
own. The Ritual. The Ritual is one of the Mage's charges, and its season is Morning Star. Those born under this sign have a variety of abilities depending on the aspects of the moons and the divines. The Lover. The Lover is one of the Thief's charges, and her season is Sun's Dawn. Those
Are you the one
born
that
under the sign of the Lover are graceful and passionate. The
Let's
Shadow.
get this over
The
with
Shadow
quickly.
season is Second Seed. The Shadow grants those born under her sign the ability to hide in shadows. The Tower. The Tower is one of the Thief's charges, and its season is Frostfall. Those born under the sign of the Tower have a knack for finding gold and can open locks of all kinds.
There's something not right about you. Maybe you should go. There's something not right about you. Maybe you should
What, stranger?
Stop wasting my time with your foolishness.
Are you the one that boat dropped off? Odd to see a boat arrive at that time of the day.
I don't have a lot of patience for questions, Outlander.
In darkness, your light.
Welcome to
shines
Arill's
through.
Trade House. I'm Arill, publican and proprietor. You're a new face here, so if you want a little advice, free to new customers. Just ask.
When hope is lost and war rages on, warrior goddess, hear our blessed song. With her Norns dead fallen in battle, warrior goddess, guide us through shadow. Grant us courage to fight and sharpen our swords, warrior goddess, mother of Norns. In darkness, your light shines through. Warrior goddess, for you we strike true. When hope is lost and war rages on, warrior goddess, hear our blessed song. With the Norns death fallen in battle, warrior goddess, guide us through shadow. Grant us courage to fight and sharpen our swords, warrior goddess, mother of North. When Agator slew Lorcan, he ripped his heart right out. He hurled it across Tamriel, and the heart was heard to shout. Red diamond, the heart and soul of man. Red diamond, red diamond.
I don't have a lot of patience for questions, Outlander.
The end. The laughing heart sprayed blood afar.
If you would be wise, model your lives on the lives of the saints. If you would learn valor, follow Saint Nerevar the Captain, patron of warriors and statesmen. Lord Nerevar helped to unite the barbarian Dunmer tribes into a great nation.
You look like you could use a friend,
culminating in his
Outlander.
martyrdom.
Perhaps I can be your
victory
friend.
against the evil
I'd like you to help me
of
recover.
the traitorous House
Red
David in the
diamond,
Battle of
red
Red Root.
diamond,
If you
the
would
heart
dare
and soul
make it
of
close,
man.
tells me I might regret
Red
it.
diamond,
Patron of
red
outcasts and
diamond,
spiritual
protect
seekers.
us till
St.
the
Veloth,
end.
prophet and mystic, led the Dunmer out of
When
the decadent home
elves
country of the
lost,
Somerset
learned
Isles
to
and
man,
into the promised land of
Akatosh
Morrowind.
gave the stone
St. Veloth also
to
taught the
Saint
difference between the
Kalash
good
in
and bad
token
Daedra,
of her
and won the
right
aid
to
of the good
sit
Daedra
the
for his people,
throne.
while teaching
Red
how to carefully
diamond,
negotiate
red
with the bad Daedra.
diamond,
If
the
you would
heart
learn
and
generosity,
soul of
follow
man.
St. Rilms the
Red
Barefooted,
diamond,
patron of
red
pilgrims and
diamond,
strangers.
protect
St. Rilms
us
Have a look
till
around.
the
then
end.
dressed and appeared as a beggar to better acquaint herself with the poor. If you would learn self-respect and respect for others, follow St. Araval the Penitent,
Agator
patron
slew
of tanners
Lord
and miners.
Gan, he
This
ripped
foul
his
criminal
heart
repented
right
his sins
out.
and travelled a
He
circuit of
hurled
the
it
great
across
pilgrimages on his
Tamriel,
knees. If
and
you would
the
learn
heart
mercy and
was
its
heard
fruits,
to
follow
shout.
St. Serin the Merciful, patron of brewers, bakers, distillers. This pure virgin of modest aspect could heal all diseases at the price of taking the disease upon herself. Tough-minded and fearless, she took on the burdens of others and bore those burdens to an honored old age. If you would learn fierce justice, follow St. Felms the Bold, patron of butchers and fishmongers.
Whatever you're
This
looking
brave warlord slew the Nord invaders and drove them from our lands. He could neither read nor write, receiving inspiration directly from the lips of Almsivi. If you would learn pride of race and tribe, follow St. Roris the Martyr, patron of furnishers and caravanners. Captured by Argonians just before the Arnesian War, Roris proudly refused to renounce the tribunal faith and withstood the cruel tortures of Argonian sorcerers. Vengeance and justice for the martyred St. Roris was the rallying cry of the Arnesian War. If you would learn the rule of law and justice, follow St. Olms the Just, patron of chandlers and clerks. Founder of the
Thanks again for
Ordinators, St. Olms conceived and articulated the fundamental principles of testing, ordeal, and repentance. If you would learn benevolence, follow St. Delin the Wise, patron of potters and glassmakers. St. Delin was head of House Indoril, a skilled lawyer and author of many learned treatises on tribunal law and custom. If you would learn the love of peace, follow St. Maris the Peacemaker, patron of farmers.
Thanks again for returning my family ring.
As a little girl, St. Maris showed healing gifts and trained as a healer. She ended a long and bloody house war, intervening on the battlefield in her white robe to heal warriors and spellcrafters without regard to faction. The troops of all houses adopted white robes as her standard and refused to shed the blood of their brethren. If you would learn reverence, follow Saint Lothis the Pious, patron of tailors and dyers, contemporary and companion of the tribunal, and the best-loved Alma ruler of the tribunal temple. He formulated the central rituals and principles of the new temple faith. Saint Lothis is the symbolic mortal bridge between the gods and the faithful and the archetypal priest.
Whatever you're looking for, I'm sure I don't know how to find it.
The poets are right. There is something life-changing about being in love, said Kepkajina Gra Min Fang, sometimes called the Wraith. I haven't wanted to rob anyone or anything in weeks. Why, the other day I saw the door wide open at a wealthy merchant's house, but my mind was fully occupied with what I should wear on my wedding day. You have been out of the right society for very long now, frowned her friend Kargol approvingly. You never told me what happened to your first husband, you know, the one the shaman gave you. Torn apart by ash ghouls, smiled Kepkaina dreamily. It was rather saddish, but I know nothing like that would happen to Wodvorg. No life of adventure for him. He's practically an Imperial. In fact, he is one. Did I tell you how we met? Hundreds of times, grumbled Kargol, reaching for his flagon. He was your jailer, and he refused you food until you promised to marry him. Have you ever heard of anything so madly romantic in all your life? Sighed Kepkaina, and then grew serious. I was going to say that I hope my old friends will wish me well, but as old Bosriel used to say, there's no point in hoping for what cannot be. We'll leave with the Imperial Knights for Balmora immediately after the wedding, but as long as we're in Dagon Fell, the gang will find some way of disrupting my love life and bring me back to the light. I know it. As the days approached towards the Wraith's wedding day, there was certainly something sinister in the air that Kepkajna could smell when she was not transported by heady bliss. Dark figures seemed to shift in the shadows and disappear when approached. She recognized the clothing of some beggars near Wodvorg's cottage as costumes, but the mendicants hurried away before she could recognize which of her old gang was stalking her. But these moments of apprehension were few. Kepkajna was truly happy, making arrangements for the ceremony to be performed at the very dungeon where Wodvorg had imprisoned her. Her father was long since dead, another victim of the ash ghouls, but her fiancé's commander volunteered to act in his behalf. Of course, Kepkaina had to supply her own dowry. She spent every last mark of her savings of ill-gotten gain to buy her beloved a truly wonderful present. The wedding was set for the stroke of midnight, as is Orc tradition. The handmaidens, wives of imperial officers, were busily sewing her into her gown of red velvet and fine gold filigree in the mid-morning. Dolcetta, one of the handmaidens, remarked that she had heard that Kepkajna had bought Wodvorg a truly beautiful gift for her dowry. "Let me show it to you," Kepkaina giggled, dashing from the room half-dressed to her hidden alcove. The present had been stolen. The women were horrified, but the Wraith found herself merely irritated, not surprised. This was truly the old gang's style. They knew that a wedding ceremony without a dowry was marked as unlucky. She asked her handmaidens to finish dressing her quickly while she pondered what the burglars would have done with her treasure. The whole region was honeycombed with secret lairs and abandoned sites thieves used to store their loot. There were obvious places, of course, but after much reflection, she thought of where she would have put it under similar circumstances. Once the handmaids had finished, Kepkina bade them to make certain that the ceremony went on as scheduled, and not to fret, as she might be a little late. She wrapped herself in a shawl to protect her gown from dungeon dust, and set off for the shrine of Malachite. The Wraith had never before attempted to rob her own friends, and though she was peeved at them for trying to ruin her happiness, she had no interest in hurting them physically. Her style was to avoid conflict, though she knew it would be inevitable. The lessons her mentor Kargol had given her had helped her avoid the lances and blades of guards and imperial knights over the years. Now she would see if they would allow her to survive a den of thieves and the unknown dangers of the shrine, without, most importantly, ruining her dress. The desolate place was so empty as she delved into it that she feared she might have made a miscalculation. It was not until she found the small room hidden down a long corridor that she knew she was at the right place, and that it was well suited for an ambush. She grabbed the chest with her treasure within and turned to face the assault. Two of her old gang, Yoram and Yor-Ai, the Red Guard twin brother and sister, were outside the door as she came from the room. They knew the Wraith better than to taunt her, and immediately attacked. Yoram struck out with a left thrust of his blade, while Yor-I sought to rush her. The Wraith neatly sidestepped Yor-I, while dropping her weight to her rear left leg, shifting her right shoulder to the left to slip past Yoram's strike. The twins crashed into one another, and Kepkagna passed swiftly on. Almost immediately, she was set on by the Argonian Binyar, his mace whistling through the air at her head. They had never much liked one another. The Wraith snapped into a duck, so the mace whacked with a tremendous clamour against the stone wall. Binyar was thrown off balance, giving her a few seconds' lead, hurrying up the passage.
What, stranger?
Ahead, she could smell the fresh night air. The last of her dowry's defenders was Sorokth, an orc with whom she had shared a brief romance. It was he who Kepkina knew had masterminded.
Make it quick out there.
In a way, and in context, she thought, his devotion to her misery was rather sweet. At the moment, though, she was most concerned with avoiding his barbed axe that seemed ideal for breaking her dress's fine stitchwork and the flesh beneath. Bending her knees slightly, bobbing to avoid strikes to the head, weaving her head to confuse Sorokth of her next move, shuffling her feet arrhythmically, the Wraith made an impossible target. She ducked inside his thrusts, sidestepped his swings, and then sidestepped his thrusts and ducked his swings. As erratic as she tried to make her defensive moves, Sorokth still kept pace with her, refusing to budge from his position at the dungeon outlet. Midnight was coming, and the Wraith finally decided that she must end the confrontation. When Sorokth swung out next, she sidestepped to her left, swayed down, and ducked her head, so the axe whistled over her right shoulder. In that instant, his right side was exposed, and she reluctantly smashed the chest hard into his torso. There was not enough time for Kepkina to see if she had killed him or merely knocked him unconscious. If you would be wise, model your lives on the lives of the saints. If you...
In darkness your light shines through. Warrior goddess, for you we strike true. When hope is lost and war rages on, warrior goddess, hear our blessed song. With her Norns death fallen in battle, warrior goddess, guide us through shadow.
I barter for goods or coin. I also have a small selection of spells for sale.
And sharpen our swords,
That's all.
warrior
Now, Armor,
goddess,
please, have a look around.
mother of Norns.
I know the little fetcher's got a hiding place somewhere in town. Just not sure where yet.
Welcome. Care to trade?
Of all the Daedric princes, there's one with shocking goal. His goal, the domination and enslavement of us all. The god of schemes, the grins of pain, the captain of corruption. He tills the land of Tamriel and sows the seeds of destruction. The plain meld is nigh, the plain meld is nigh. Our world will disappear. The plain meld is nigh, the plain meld.
I know the little fetcher's got a hiding place
Our
somewhere in town.
doom is
Just not sure where yet.
drawing near. Chains of darkness grip the land and draw it ever near to his nightmare cold harbor, where hope bows down to fear, tearing souls of innocence into eternal.
What is...
Through the bounty of blessed Almsivi, triune grace, and all the hosts of saints, the faithful who pray at through the bounty of blessed Almsivi, triune grace, and all the hosts of saints, the faithful who pray at the temple's shrines may be granted blessings through the miraculous sacraments of prayer and devotion. The three-sided shrines betoken the three-faced benison of Almsivi and may be found in temples, or at sites of pilgrimage, or at pilgrim waysides, or in the tomb of the sanctified. What benefits may be gained shall be listed herein for the edification of the worshipper and pilgrim. All shrines grant cures of common diseases, of blight diseases, and of afflictions of poison. Those shrines bearing the images of Vivek, Almalexia, and Sotha Sil also may grant the blessing of Almsivi restoration, which restores damaged and the three blessed Vivek's mystery for good fortune, soul of Sotha Sil for magical power, and lady's grace for endurance of hardships. Those shrines bearing the images of the saints may also grant the particular blessings of the saints, which are listed for you here. St. Arelor grants Arelor's intervention for fortifying character. St. Delin grants Shield of St. Delin for resistance to blight diseases. St. Felms grants Felm's glory for greater skill in restoring magics. St. Lothis grants Rock of Lothis for fortifying the will. St. Meris grants Meris's warding for resistance to corporous disease. St. Nerevar grants Spirit of Nerevar for fortifying the body's vigor. St. Olms grants Olms benediction for resistance to common disease. St. Rilms grants Rilm's grace for endurance of hardship. Ghosts walk among them. The departed spirits of the Dunmeri, and perhaps those of all races, persist after death. The knowledge and power of departed ancestors benefits the bloodlines of Dunmeri houses. The bond between the living family members and immortal ancestors is partly blood, partly ritual, partly volitional. A member brought into the house through marriage binds himself through ritual and oath into the clan and gains communication and benefits from the clan's ancestors. However, his access to the ancestors is less than his offspring, and he retains some access to the ancestors of his own bloodline. The family shrine. Each residence has a family shrine. In poorer homes, it may be no more than a hearth or alcove where family relics are displayed and venerated. In wealthy homes, a room is set aside for the use of the ancestors. This shrine is called the Waiting Door and represents the door to oblivion. Here, the family members pay their respects to their ancestors through sacrifice and prayer, through oaths sworn upon duties, and through reports on the affairs of the family. In return, the family may receive information, training, and blessings from the family's ancestors. The ancestors are thus the protectors of the home, and especially the precincts of the waiting door. The ghost fence. It is a family's most solemn duty to make sure their ancestors' remains are interred properly in a city of the dead, such as Necrom. Here the spirits draw comfort from one another against the chill of the mortal world. However, as a sign of great honor and sacrifice, an ancestor may grant that part of his remains be retained to serve as part of a ghost fence, protecting the clan's shrine and family precincts. Such an arrangement is often part of the family member's will, that a knucklebone shall be saved out of his remains and incorporated with solemn magic and ceremony into a clan ghost fence. In more exceptional cases, an entire skeleton or even a preserved corpse may be bound into a ghost fence. These remains become a beacon and focus for ancestral spirits, and to the spirit of the remains in particular. The more remains used to make a ghost fence, the more powerful the fence is. And the most powerful mortals in life have the most powerful remains. The great ghost fence created by the tribunal to hold back the blight incorporates the bones of many heroes of the temple and of the houses in Doril and Redoran who dedicated their spirits to the temple and clan as their surrogate families. The ghost fence also contains bones taken from the catacombs of Necrom and the many battlefields of Morrowind. The mortal chill spirits do not like to visit the mortal world, and they do so only out of duty and obligation. Spirits tell us that the other world is more pleasant, or at least more comfortable for spirits than our real world, which is cold, bitter, and full of pain and loss. Mad spirits. Spirits that are forced to remain in our world against their will may become mad spirits, or ghosts. Some spirits are bound to this world because of some terrible circumstances of their death, or because of some powerful emotional bond to a person, place, or thing. These are called hauntings. Some spirits are captured and bound to enchanted items by wizards. If the binding is involuntary, the spirit usually goes mad. A willing spirit may or may not retain its sanity, depending on the strength of the spirit and the wisdom of the enchanter. Some spirits are bound against their wills to protect family shrines. This unpleasant fate is reserved for those who have not served the family faithfully in life. Dutiful and honorable ancestral spirits often aid in the capture and binding of wayward spirits. These spirits usually go mad and make terrifying guardians. They are ritually prevented from harming mortals of their clans, but that does not necessarily discourage them from mischievous or peevish behavior. They are exceedingly dangerous for intruders. At the same time, if an intruder can penetrate the spirit's madness and play upon the spirit's resentment of his own clan, the angry spirits may be manipulated. Oblivion. The existence of oblivion is acknowledged by all Tamriel cultures, but there is little agreement on the nature of that other world, other than...
Is it necessary that you speak with me?
In darkness, your
Welcome,
light
welcome.
shines
You are among
through.
friends. What can I get you?
Warrior goddess, for you we strike true. When hope is lost and war rages on, warrior goddess, hear our blessed song. With her Norns death fallen in battle, warrior goddess, guide us through shadow. Grant us courage to fight and
Whatever you're looking for,
sharpen
I'm
our
sure I don't
swords.
know how to
Warrior goddess, mother of Norns.
Talk
Tell
with
your
you?
friends about
Something
this
tells me
place.
I might.
I know the little fetcher's got a hiding place somewhere in town. Just not sure where yet.
Oh, my sweet love, she waits for me through storm and shine, cross land or sea. I run to her and together we sway as we kiss, sway as we kiss. Her graceful shape I heave up high, and in one hand I hold her nigh. Her waiting lips are never dry. Sway as we kiss, sway as we kiss. Come the morn she goes.
Welcome,
The
welcome.
taste of
You are
her
among
is
friends.
made.
Get it out or hit the road.
And in
Don't bother me.
Where's that smell? Yeah, not
Does this kind one have the keys? Will it let us go free?
Be well, traveler.
Once my strength comes back, I'm finally going home.
You will die!
We make a special trip just for you. Same low price. What? Why do you disturb me?
I'm just an old man with a skooma problem. What do you want?
This account by the imperial scholar Agrippa Fundilius is based on various imperial and Dunmer sources and written for Western readers. The War of the First Council was a First-era religious conflict between the secular Dunmer houses Dwemer and Dagoth and the orthodox Dunmer houses Indoril, Redoran, Dres, Hlalu and House Telvanni. The First Council was the first pan-Dunmer governing body which collapsed over disputes about sorceries and enchantments practiced by the Dwemer and declared profane by the other houses. The secular houses, less numerous but politically and magically more advanced, and aided by Nord and Orc clans drawn by promise of land and booty, initially campaigned with great success in the north of Morrowind and occupied much of the land now comprising Redoran, Vardenfell and Telvanni district. The Orthodox houses, widely dispersed and poorly organized, suffered defeat after defeat until Nerevar was made general of all house troops and levies. Nerevar secured the aid of nomad barbarian tribesmen and contrived to force a major battle at the secular stronghold of Red Mountain on Vardenfell. The secular forces were outmaneuvered and defeated with the help of Ashlander's scouts, and the survivors forced to take refuge in the Dwemer stronghold at Red Mountain. After a brief siege, treason permitted Nerevar and his troops to enter the stronghold, where the secular leaders were slain and Nerevar mortally wounded. General slaughter followed, and houses Dwemer and Dagoth were exterminated. Nerevar died shortly thereafter of his wounds. 3 of Nerevar's associates among the Orthodox houses, Vivek, Almalexia, and Sothasil, succeeded to control of the recreated First Council, renamed the Grand Council of Morrowind, and went on to become the god-kings and immortal rulers of Morrowind, known as the Tribunal, or Almsivi. After much analysis of living specimens, the Council long ago determined that all races of elves and humans may mate with each other and bear fertile offspring. Generally, the offspring bear the racial traits of the mother, though some traces of the father's race may also be present. It is less clear whether the Argonians and Khajiit are interfertile with both humans and elves. Though there have been many reports throughout the eras of children from these unions, as well as stories of unions with Daedra, there have been no well-documented offspring. Khajiit differ from humans and elves, not only their skeletal and dermal physiology, the fur that covers their bodies, but their metabolism and digestion as well. Argonians, like the Drach, appear to be a semi-aquatic troglophile form of humans, though it is by no means clear whether the Argonians should be classified with Drach, men, Mer, or, in this author's opinion, certain tree-dwelling lizards in Black Marsh. The reproductive biology of orcs is at present not well understood, and the same is true of goblins, trolls, harpies, Drach, Zaeshi, Imgur, various Daedra, and many others. Certainly there have been cases of intercourse between these races, generally in the nature of rape or magical seduction, but there have been no documented cases of pregnancy. Still, the interfertility of these creatures and the civilized hominids has yet to be empirically established or refuted, likely due to the deep cultural differences. Surely any normal Bosmer or Breton impregnated by an orc would keep that shame to herself, and there's no reason to suppose that an orc maiden impregnated by a human would not be likewise ostracized by her society. Regrettably, our oaths as healers keep us from forcing a coupling to satisfy our scientific knowledge. We do know, however, that the Slode of Thras are hermaphrodites in their youth and later reabsorb their reproductive organs once they are old enough to move about on land. It can be safely assumed that they are not interfertile with men or Mer. One might further wonder whether the proper classification of these same races, to use the imprecise but useful term, should be made from the assumption of a common heritage, and the differences between them have arisen from magical experimentation, the manipulations of the so-called earth bones, or from gradual changes from one generation to the next.
I only have a few moments.
Is for Atronach, B is for Bungler's Bane, C is for Comberry.
What is it, peasant?
Can I help you?
No, I don't think so.
Want to become part of House Telvanni. Want to become part of House Telvanni. Outsiders. Learning of the rabid, isolationist and outlander-hating temperament of House Telvanni wizards often assume it would be impossible to obtain positions in service to House Telvanni. Nothing could be further from the truth. For example, since the Telvanni vigorously defend the right to own slaves, and since they keep many Argonian and Khajiit as slaves, many Argonians and Khajiit assume they would not be accepted for service with House Telvanni. Not true. Telvanni accept all races as candidates for membership. And since the Telvanni are ruled by wizard lord nobles, many assume they accept only candidates of the highest intelligence.
Step right up, friend, and look over my collection of scrolls.
Telvanni
How about the
accept
flashy and cheap Taldum Scorcher to burn your foes?
It is true that advancement in Telvanni ranks depends on high intelligence and willpower, and that candidates proficient in the arts of
Well,
magic,
Outlander,
especially
I'm Ronis
mysticism,
Athris, head of the Mages
conjuration,
Guild here in
illusion,
Valhalla.
alteration,
Were you looking to join the Mages
destruction,
Guild?
and enchanting, can expect to advance faster and higher in the ranks. But adventurers of all races and abilities who apply to Telvanni mouths at the Telvanni Council Hall in Sadrith Mora for acceptance in House Telvanni can expect a cordial welcome. Telvanni councillors do not serve on their house councils in person. Instead, they are represented by a mouth, a trusted subordinate in residence at the council hall, acting on his patrons' behalf, receiving messengers from their patrons and casting their patrons' votes in council affairs. The truth is that House Telvanni wizard lords depend on loyal, well-paid, skilled retainers for most services. Though House Telvanni does recruit from their own lower classes, they must go outside their house to hire the craftsmen and specialists they need. And since, for political reasons, House Telvanni has chosen to reduce its reliance on Redoran mercenaries for protection and security, it has been forced to turn to Western mercenaries for guards and agents. Promotion in the ranks of House Telvanni, however, is very difficult for outsiders. Most disconcerting for some potential candidates is House Telvanni's casual acceptance of murder and assassination of rivals as a means to advancement. Those reluctant to prove their worthiness by killing off the competition, and those uncomfortable about competing in such a ruthless atmosphere, might better employ their time and efforts in the Mages Guild.
Spit it up. I don't have any duties for someone of your rank. Why don't you speak with Ajira downstairs? I believe she may have some small tasks for you.
Step right up, friend, and look over my collection of scrolls. How about the flashy and cheap Taldum Scorcher to burn your foes, or on Ducey's unhinging to open stuck chests and doors? I thought I heard something.
I cannot think with all these interruptions. Please leave me alone.
My patience is limited. Teleportation is the only civilized way to travel.
Khajiit has no words for you.
I suppose it is my duty to help those less fortunate than myself.
You have business here.
Are you...
Speak up, Scuttlebutt. You want to join the Fighters Guild? I'm the steward here in Balmora.
When you need to do a lot of damage in a
I'm
hurry,
busy,
you can't
so
be
if you will excuse me.
Try my inexpensive Iron Spider dagger, or an Imperial Netch blade for even more bite.
Do you want something?
There is no time for talk with you.
A is for Atronach. B is for Bungler. Nords consider themselves to be the children of the sky. They call Skyrim the throat of the world because it is where the sky exhaled the north winds on the land and formed them. They see themselves as eternal outsiders and invaders, and even when they conquer and rule another people, they feel
Let's
no
get this
kinship
over with
with
quickly.
them. This especially with the Chimer and Dwemer in the days of the Dwemerith and the first forming of the great houses.
To members of the guild.
Breath and the voice are the vital essence of a Nord. When they defeat great enemies, they take their tongues as trophies. These are woven into ropes and can hold speech like an enchantment. The power of a Nord can be articulated into a dragon shout, like the ki of an Akaviri swordsman. The strongest of their warriors are called tongues.
I only have a few moments.
This is most unsettling. Leave me.
I don't have a lot of patience for questions, Outlander.
Make it quick, Altmer. Say what you want or go away.
Surrender now, and I might let you live.
It is improper, however customary, to refer to the denizens of the dimension of oblivion as demons. This practice probably dates to the Alessian doctrines of the first era prophet Morrowind, which, rather amusingly, forbade traffic with daemons, and then neglected to explain what daemons were. It is most probable that daemon is a misspelling or etymological rendition of Daedra, the old elven word for those strange, powerful... It is improper, however customary, to refer to the denizens of the dimension of oblivion as demons. This practice probably dates to the Alessian doctrines of the first-era prophet Maruk, which, rather amusingly, forbade traffic with daemons, and then neglected to explain what daemons were. It is most probable that daemon is a misspelling or etymological rendition of Daedra, the old elven word for those strange, powerful creatures of uncertain motivation who hail from the dimension of oblivion. Daedra is actually the plural form. The singular is Daedroth. In a later tract by King Hael the Pious of Skyrim, almost 1,000 years after the publication of the original doctrines, the evil machinations